Yeah, they do.
God, it's hard to believe. We established that on the Magic Mechanic Show some years ago.
Yep.
Hey, Eric, and this is a call that every one of you out there needs to listen to now that Larry's explained it to me during the break. Everybody that listens to this show needs to listen to this. Eric, with your 07 Expedition, what's going on?
I've got the typical, from what I've understand from reading online, cam phaser issue. Mm-hmm. When I start my truck up, it almost sounds like a diesel engine. It has a slight, well, I'd say more than slight knock when I initially started.
What did I tell you it sounded like, Rob?
Larry said before people come in those beautiful Expeditions, they're perfect cars, and it sounds like a diesel, and I'm going to tell you why. And I said, what? What could it be?
How many miles do you have on it, Eric?
Roughly 125, I'd say.
Okay. Who's done the oil services on it? You, or you take it in somewhere?
Me, and I'm using the OEM filter. I got read online that it has the drain or backflow check valve in it or something like that.
Mm-hmm. What kind of oil are you using?
I've been using the Mobile One Gold with, I guess it's the 15,000-mile oil.
Okay.
I've been changing it roughly around 8 to 10,000 miles.
What viscosity?
5W20.
What did I tell you, Rob?
Yep. 520 is exactly what he said. We've been discussing your call during the break for about 20 minutes.
It's just the you know what I guess what you call it is the perfect storm, and it's like if you listen to this program, Eric. I don't care what Ford tells you. I don't care what they put on your oil cap. I do not care what they put in the owner's manual. I don't care what they put in a service manual. I'm starting to sound like green eggs and ham.
Yeah, really.
Listen, you can't run 520 in these big V8 Ford truck motors. It is mechanical suicide. You have such an accelerated wear rate that is actually taking place around the camshaft and what they refer to as the cam bearings in the cylinder heads, that what you wind up with these really stupid thin oils is you get wear. And what happens is you're losing some of the oil pressure that needs to go to the cam phasers. Do you understand what I'm saying? And if you don't have a proper amount of oil pressure going to these cam phasers, they're sitting there beating themselves to death because they can't retain enough oil pressure. And usually the problem is between the cam journals and the cam bearings, which is casted into the heads itself. The best advice that I can give you to even try to help you with this situation without going and start tearing the motor apart would be, because I know that there's already some damage done and there's not anything anybody can do about that. It's the 520 oil, which everybody tells you to use except for me, has done its job. It's done a great job of trying to screw up your motor. I would suggest that you try going to, you're already using a synthetic, which is that's fine. You got it part right, but I'm going to tell you to really kind of go off the kilter here a little bit. I'm going to tell you to try like a 10W40 motor oil just for test purposes, just to see if this problem becomes a little less severe than what it is now. That little bit of extra viscosity, well, you're doubling the viscosity hot. I mean, you're increasing viscosities from a 20 to a 40 by 100%. If you didn't already have this going on, I'd recommend you to go to like a 0W30 AMS oil, or even possibly a 10W30 synthetic oil for a 5.4 or 4.6 engine is perfectly acceptable here in Central Florida. To run a 520 in these engines here in Central Florida, folks, I'll tell you what, it's just too thin of a viscosity. And you're taking a vehicle here that was perfectly capable of putting 500,000 mile on without any problems. Maybe a timing chain at 150 to 200,000 mile, but nothing internal, nothing wear-wise. It's just using too thin of an oil in the motor. And I don't care whether it's a smaller car. I won't even use 520. Even in a hybrid, we use 030. I don't care what the manufacturer or dealer or service writer, we just don't use oils that thin in our customers' cars. You know, my job's to keep them out of car payments once they're paid for, and I want them to keep that car, because as long as they're not driving a new one, we might get a little work out of it. So it benefits me to keep them from buying engines and transmissions. Dealerships and manufacturers eventually want you to buy another car. Now, you got to look at it like this as well. When these manufacturers and the EPA spec'd out 5W20, it was for nobody's benefit but their own. And the reason for it being is an oil that thin represents less drag on the oil pump during cold start emissions testing. It's not doing nothing to protect your motor. Remember that. And like I said, you can have all the folks you want call me up and argue with me. You might get a tree hugger or two, but not somebody that's passionate about keeping their car a long time. In your case, let's try a 1030 synthetic. Let's just try it. It may not help you. The damage may be done so severe that it may not help. But if you get some great help from that, if it drops the problem that you've got into half, Eric, give us a call back. Let us know. It's helped a few people that we've had in the shop. My regular customers don't have this problem, of course, because they use superior lubrication and they use the right viscosities. But in your case, there's tons of these vehicles out here just like yours having the same exact problem.
All right, Tim, with your